Oh my God, Clint, you look like the guy. Has anyone ever told you you look like the one guy from Supernatural that I can't even say the name of because they never actually know the name? So I guess I look like one of the two main characters. And now I'm just like, is that because you want me to be your Boo Bear? Get it, Boo? Boo, scary. I guess that's what happens when you look like a super natty daddy. Almost like you're super natural and kind of like people's belief in supernatural things. It's unbelievable. Okay, Clint. Welcome to episode 160 of the Off and Beat podcast. I'm your host, Clint Nelson. Recording this on August 4th, 2022. I feel like that's not a special day, but I feel like there's something to that date that's kind of important. But anyways, recording this at 11:47 a.m. Eastern because I'm an Eastern guy. And happy snow bunny dogs. Oh, what was that line? Happy got my snow bunnies. Happy Easter boys. Um, oh Jack. But yeah, episode 160. Trying to get back in the routine of it. Had some time today. Trying not to work out today. Actually take a day off. I've legitimately worked out every single day for approximately 4.5 weeks straight. Oh my God, it's so unhealthy to work out every day. You need to take time for yourself. It's like, I do take time for myself when I'm looking in the mirror and I'm like, man, I spent a lot of time on myself. No, but anyways, this is not going to be the workout pod. Trying to steer away from it. But yeah, by the way, I brought back my in-game drink. You know, some people drink electrolytes when they're, performing their deeds. I have iced coffee, which actually does the opposite of electrolytes. It dehydrates the fuck out of you, especially with sugar. And sugar, yes please. And eventually she'll put it down on me. Put it down on me, right, Jeremiah? All right, but yeah, no, like I open with the supernatural thing because I was thinking to myself earlier, and I even had a small little conversation as their opinion on kind of supernatural things. I guess I'll be your ghost of Christmas past. You put this dick under the tree, and then shake and bake it, baby. Shaking the tree. Oh, it's very ornamental. All right, Clint. But yeah, no, I was actually curious about how do we really view like quote unquote supernatural things, right? I think most people have a small belief in it, and I think a good portion of those people are afraid to admit it because it's kind of like if you believe, it's weird how people, when it comes to religion and stuff, they'll have no problem putting their life out there, having their whole life kind of revolve around something that's really technically supernatural, right? I'm not trying to make this religious or nothing, but it's odd to me how people will go out and preach and put their neck out and just have like no like it roll off the tongue. Like, yeah, it's kind of like, yeah, I do crack. Like that doesn't just naturally, like, that's not something you just say in passing. People like, yeah, I'm religious. It's like, but in passing, if you say like, oh yeah, no, like supernatural thing, like ghost. Like a lot of people start raising their eyebrows when someone's like, oh, they're one of those. Oh, you're one of those people that have like a psychic place and you have your little globe that you put your fingers on and the little lasers attached to it. Welcome to Spencer's. And I've thought about going to a psychic because I don't know if it's a scam. Like, I feel like a psychic, it's really, I think you could tell a lot about someone when they walk in the door and gauge their interest type of thing. And I think they can kind of just get a good idea of who you are. They're probably just like experts in human psychology, probably, or human behavior. And they could probably predict a lot of your patterns because people are typically predictable pattern of behavior type of people, especially. So, and if you have someone that's seeking answers, they're obviously kind of probably in a curious mindset or open mindset, or sometimes even desperate, that they're probably much more easier to predict. And that's when you have psychics that can, sell $10,000 courses type of shit. Or as they call it, quote unquote, medium, Long Island medium. Like, shut the fuck up. It's like, your cousin Sally. Girls can be cousins. Your auntie, we'll just say auntie. Your auntie Sally, she misses you. She died 2 years ago when she got hit by a Mack truck. But before she got hit by that Mack truck, she was thinking about you and your newborn child. And she was going to send a card saying, I hope everything is going well. And then the person breaks down crying like, oh my God, oh, Auntie Sally. And now she owns a beauty shop. I get it, Sally Beauty Shop. Okay, Clint. But when it comes to supernatural things, it's weird how that's like a very, like if you kind of have a belief system about that stuff. Automatic assumption is probably like, oh, they want to contact the dead. They're probably in the Ouija boards. They're probably trying to reach out. And that shit is scary. Like, I'm not trying to do all that. Like, one thing, don't fuck with Ouija boards. Don't fuck with accessing witchcraft and shit like that. That's not what I mean about understanding or at least accepting that I believe there are supernatural things that kind of happen on this earth. But it's that I think believing in a religion is very equivalent to believing in like supernatural ghosts, or people that believe in religion for some reason will be the first to shut down when they're like a hotel is haunted or haunted mansion and shit like that. It's like you'll believe in a lineage of something that a hummingbird. A hummingbird could have fucking wrote the Bible with their little pecker nose and do 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 do. Because, hummingbirds are actually pretty smart. There's a reason why there's the hummingbird. Was it the Hummingbird Project? Or, yeah, like the Scott. What was the fucking book? It's only the biggest book. Like, one of the 3 biggest books in the history of fucking literature. The Hummingbird, I think. I don't know. Anyways. But when it comes to like supernatural beings and ghosts and accessing quote unquote spirits, for some reason that's one of those things where it just kind of seems like people have their eyes raised when that shit happens. When someone starts talking about that stuff. And it's typically because the people that are most outspoken about it, or the people that are like really into it, probably look a certain way, so you have a perception, you make judgments, and that's fair. Like if someone walks in looking like the character from Death Note, I'm not an anime guy, but I know what he looks like. If someone who's dressed up as Death Note starts talking to me about supernatural things, I'm probably gonna be like, yeah, I'm sure, buddy. And because you almost don't want to. Like, yeah, I agree. It's like, oh, really? You agree? You should come over. I can access some things for you. It's like, hey, I ain't trying to get a backstage pass here. Sometimes getting VIP to front row seats to things that you're interested in, not always the best. I'll sit in the auditorium and I'll observe from afar. So in case I have to make an emergency exit, I'm first out. Now, I may have to jump from the top of the building because I only paid $40 for the seat. But hey, you know what? It's better than paying $5,000 and dealing with a lifetime of unease when you're sleeping. And I was like, what's that hot air in my ear? It's like, it's your like air conditioning, my friend. Why am I sweating at night? Ooh, spirits either make you really cold or they make the room really hot. And yeah, it could just be because, it's summertime and you didn't turn your fan on. That could be it too. But no, like, I guess the main thing sorry it took so long to kind of get around to this, but is supernatural things like believing and seeing? Because, like the Polar Express, seeing is believing. I guess technically when you think about it, the Polar Express is pretty supernatural. It's a fucking train full of kids and this train just arrives and kidnaps these kids from their houses on Christmas Eve to teach them the spirit of Christmas, I guess. Which really is just called kidnapping. It's Polar Express is a glorified kidnapping movie. It's basically like the Catholic Church in the train. Well, obviously, at least they get something out of it. At least they went home the next day. And at least, they appreciate the Christmas tree more. They appreciate the holidays. At least there's a inspiring message behind it, Can you believe? Yeah, I do believe. But yeah, I believe he kidnapped like 50 fucking children. Anyways, talk about running a train. All right. Talk about the Catholic Church just running a train. All right. Anyways, but I guess what I was thinking is believing in supernatural things, is it age specific of the origin of when that typically happens? Like, can someone be 40 years old and never believe in all that, and then all of a sudden, do you really have to believe supernatural things to actually see it? Because if you don't believe it, then it won't happen. It's kind of like with what was it, like the Sorcerer's Stone, the cartoon movie, or you can actually say Thor, where he struggles to actually connect with the hammer in the first one. And he has to really think a certain way. He has to really believe he's Thor. He has to really believe that what he's doing to actually embody what it takes to actually see, to actually be what he's trying to be. And I think it's kind of like a euphemism of confidence. It's kind of like if you're under the squat rack. Sorry, Jesus, bring it back to the gym. But if you're under the squat rack, right, and you're trying to 1 rep max, or even do a 3 rep set, where it's heavier weight, and you're going to struggle with it. It's going to be tense. It's going to be intense. Put it on your shoulders, baby. Carry the load. Kind of like I do with every fucking pot. But anyways, yeah, it's the second you have any percentage of doubt, can I get this? 99% of the time, you're not going to get it. Because most of lifting, most of believing in yourself, most of believing in what you're seeing is the utmost confidence. It's the utmost, most importantly, not just confidence, but no self-doubt. You almost have to be slightly irrational in a good way. There's obviously a physical limitation, right? Your body can either do it or it can't. But most people don't really even reach even past that 80 to 90% potential, even when they think they work hard, because there's a slight bit of I don't want to push myself. I don't want to go too far. I want to push the envelope. I'm trying to avoid injury, which is fair. I'm not saying you should go and try to get injured, but it's a thing that the second you it's almost like the second you're I don't know if I could get this, it's like your limbs just automatically weaken. Self-doubt, it literally is like a dopamine, or it's kind of like a hit to your dopamine. It's kind of like a hit to your adrenaline. It's the second you're a slightest bit of doubt, your body doubts too. That's why your mind-muscle connection matters. And to connect that with believing in supernatural things, I believe that part of it's almost like seeing is believing. Supernatural is literally believing in supernatural things, is literally like the Polar Express. If you don't believe it, you're not really going to see it, and you're not really going to have an eye out for it, because you always just think it's something just in the wind. It's just oh, that was a weird noise. It's just this. You feel something. I believe a lot of times when we wake up in the middle of the night randomly and we don't have to pee and we're not having like, we just wake up and we feel off and it doesn't make sense. I believe it's because like our body has senses. You know how, like when you feel like someone's looking at you and you just know it when you're out in public? Like I believe your body develops that sensory development as you get older. So that's why you like, and sometimes people overdo it. Everyone feels like everyone's out to get me. Everyone's looking at me. It's like, trust me, no one's looking at you for the reasons you think it is. It's like, I'm so fine. It's like, well, love is in the eye of the beholder. Let's hope for that one. And your demographic, not helping you. Snow bunnies. But I do believe that you have to kind of see what you're and what you're if you have any self-doubt about supernatural and you're just like, I'm just gonna like, I guess I'll see, then it's probably not gonna happen. Like you're not gonna see the way that people who have that type of curiosity. And on the flip side, I think if you're just over the top, like always looking for something, that's when you get those people's like, oh, you see how they walk? That's because they had a bad night's sleep because, Pegasus, they'll be like, shit, what's that fucking succubus? I don't even want to say the name because that's some scary shit. But, yeah, I said it once, so I'm going to use it as a reference. Like, I remember last time I said that on a pod when I found out about this stuff. Someone was telling me about this stuff. I said it on a pod and immediately it just got, like, really quiet where I lived. And, like, something in my mind didn't feel right. Like, it felt like something was whirring around. And I was like, ooh. And I'm kind of somewhere in the, like, I believe I've had some minor experiences. I know, I'll tell a small little story when I was younger. This is only because my mother has told me this story. So when I was younger, I had this, kind of like this train track toy thing in a room in a house we lived in. It's a pretty decent sized room. Wooden floors. And it was just like this pretty decent size, like when Toys R Us was a thing, when you could actually buy like real shit at Toys R Us for a decent price. Like we actually had like a legit like train thing in my room or whatever. But it was battery operated and you had to plug it in type of shit. So, you had to really make sure shit was going right. But I remember one day, apparently I was at school or something. I was at home. It was just my mom home. And she's downstairs and she hears the train thing going. She's like, My mom's one of those people. The slightest thing, if it doesn't sit right, something's wrong. It's not like us guys, we're just like, Jesus Christ, fucking trains and shit. You have to go upstairs and like, fuck. Like, she's like, I don't know about this. So she goes upstairs. She turns off the train. I think she unplugged the train, right? Goes back downstairs, and like literally like a minute or two later, the train goes on again. Now it's not plugged in. She goes upstairs, of course. Her senses are heightened. Her mommy senses are heightened. Now she's really starting to kind of get freaked out. She goes upstairs and she's like, oh, hell no. Then she took the batteries out of the train. She took the batteries out of the train and took the train off the tracks, if I remember correctly. She just like put the trains to the side, whatever the fuck. She's already like kind of fucked up. She's like going downstairs, probably doing dishes. That's what the women do. Vacuum, bitch. And literally, like the same amount of time lapse as the last time when the train went, like she started hearing stuff upstairs. She heard a big thump, and the train She heard the train noise again. She immediately walked out of that house. And she basically told my dad, like, we gotta fucking move. This shit ain't it. And she was scared as fuck. Like, I believe she stayed at like a hotel, or she stayed like at a family house for a little while, until like basically we lived there for a little bit longer until we found another place to live, like, and shit like that. Like, you gotta have that heightened sense of awareness about it. And when I think about when I was younger, but she also said I used to have an imaginary friend. And, you know, kids have a map, but she said, like, you legitimately, like, didn't just, like, it felt like you, like, kind of like the movies when a kid has a quote-unquote imaginary friend, and then for the camera, for the audience, they actually see what the kid sees, but the parents, when they're looking at this chair, just, they don't see nothing, but the kid actually sees another kid for like the 1820s. And then he was like murdered by his whole family. And that's why he's just like, he's coming for you. It's like, oh, don't forget, hey, Mom, don't forget to get a chicken sandwich for Remy. It's like, I'm not paying $2 for your fucking imaginary friend. Like, the sandwich is going to imaginarily disappear. Besides, the kid from the 1820s, his body probably can't even digest chicken. Chicken wasn't really a thing there, especially not this type of chicken. It's a McChicken. Your kid's going to, like, your imaginary friend, let's say hypothetically he could eat this chicken sandwich. He's probably going to die because his body's not used to all this chemicals and shit. But, anyways. But then when I think about it, like, I don't have the greatest of memory. But there's a few things that kind of, and I do remember, like, when I think about it, like, and maybe it's because when you're told something happened, or you're told to remember something, you start, like, convincing yourself of things that may or may not have actually happened. But from my belief, I do remember, like, actually having, like, a real friendship with the imaginary friend in that house. Like, there's something that, like, that triggers in my mind. I remember the VHS little cassette area we had. I remember the toys. I remember certain wall murals we had. Marilyn Monroe. And there's a supernatural element of it that really, like, I think I did have, like, an imaginary friend. Now, was it truly my imagination? Or was it something I actually saw with my own eyes and felt like it was a real person? And that's the kind of thing. I don't know. And that's the weird part. Spirits never traveled with me or nothing like that. Like, as I got older, he probably wouldn't like me now. Have some beliefs that he'd be like, hey, you know, back in my day, be like, you know, you like Benjamin Button. You look the same for the past 200 years, my friend. Gotta admit, nice skincare routine, I guess. Even though you're pale as fuck, but whatever you're doing, you're staying alive, baby. Staying alive. Well, I guess he's kind of staying alive. He's staying alive. He's staying alive in the living eyes. Ooh, that's a bar. That's like a bar you would say to someone. You're staying alive in the living eyes. Some die. Once, you know, you get Invisalign surgery because you see for who they really are. But no, you know, I really am curious. Like, if, like, let's say I were to have a kid, and around the same age, he's talking about having, like, he has an imaginary friend the same way I did. I'd be like, one, is it that same ugly motherfucker who wears, like, the weird bow tie type of shit? And I don't know how I would deal with that. Like, do you sit there and bless the house? Because when you start blessing the house and bring in the priest, and I'm not religious, so it's kind of like, hey, I'm not going to use a priest for something I don't believe in. I'm not just going to use them for convenient services when I'm not religious. It's like, you know, I weirdly, I respect religion enough to not use it to pick and choose to my advantage. I don't like the people that actually do practice it. But it's okay. It's like everyone commits sins. It's like, yeah, but you actually made a choice to fuck a bunch of different people while you made a voluntarily commitment and paid $20,000 for a wedding. It's like, yeah, I don't feel bad for your sinning. Yeah, everyone sins impulsively. But a repeated offender, that's not sinning. That's just bad decision making, which is beyond sinning. Sinning is literally supposed to be impulsive. It is human behavior that is very hard to qualify. It's very hard to just say this or that. But repeated pattern of behavior, yeah, no, that you can't use sinning as your excuse for that shit. But, when I think about, like, what if I knew someone, like, because I was young at the time. I was probably like 5 or 6 or 7, somewhere in that range, when I had like this imaginary friend. And I'm sure my mom, she was just like, oh, it's cute and all this stuff. Not realizing that there was some real shit. I think when that situation happened, she started realizing, like, oh. And I think that's why she's like probably slightly paranoid of supernatural, like ghosts and shit. Like, stay away from that shit. And she barely got near a Yahtzee board. Forget a Ouija board. Yeah, talk about rolling the dice. Oh, Jesus. Talk about 2 dice in 1 cup. As a Brendan Schaff would say, dicey. All right. And I do think about, when I think about and kind of look back on it, how come I don't remember it well? Was there a brainwashing aspect of it? Do typically supernatural things gravitate to typically younger children? That's why younger children have, like, quote unquote, these supernatural imaginary friends, because the supernatural, they gravitate towards naivety. They gravitate towards a certain aura and energy of innocence. Because it's like opposites attract. It's, oh, I'm going to make you feel like, oh, you're easily convinced, but you're easily manipulated. You could be easily swayed and manipulated. You could be easily swayed and led in any direction that I want you to. Which is kind of like what my belief is. Like, and I do think, ironically, supernatural demons and this, I think it's weird to raise your kid on a religion at a very young age. I'm not saying they shouldn't be aware or be introduced in some way, but to sit there and be like a 5 years old, you're going to be a Christian, you're going to be a Jew, you're going to be Jewish, you're going to be this, Hebrew, whatever. There's something about that that's like a little odd to me. I'm for bringing structure. I do believe it brings a lot of value and stuff like that. But I think the second you start invading a young person's mind to sway them in a direction, and this can honestly incur today's time, can be applied to a lot of different things that I don't want to get too into. I'm trying to keep it monetized here. I do think that I don't think it's that much different than what kind of happens with religion, with how people are they know the youth, very young kids are obviously very impressionable. That's why they're worried about sending their kids to school these days, because the way certain things are aligned and structured, kids just want to fit in at the end of the day. They just want to be liked. They just want to be accepted. So if you kind of make this referendum or this curriculum or this mandatory thing that if you're not this, you're against us. You're not one of us. You're not welcomed in a way, which is kind of but fucking reverse irony, being the fact that what you're trying to make them accept and immediately just embody is because you don't feel accepted or loved or all that shit. So you're putting the onus on someone else that, oh, we're going to make you feel bad. It's like, I'm sorry, I'm a cis white male. I'm 5 years old. I don't know what I like. It's like, I have an imaginary friend. That's all I know. That's all I like. Maybe that's why I'm really good at talking to myself. Jesus, that actually got really dark. Damn, that's actually kind of sad. But hey, keep the train on the tracks, right? Oh, he sure did. He's like, stop taking my train off the tracks, bitch. I don't need battery. I am battery. I'm gonna commit battery on you. And that's the thing. It's pretty. And we got a lot of supernatural people out here that are living people, that are literally telling you, they're literally just manipulating, they're literally just kind of swaying things in an inevitable direction, that if you don't follow this, if you don't do this, you don't do that, we're basically going to pigeonhole you in a specific place. And we're manipulating you for the meantime, saying, oh, this is for the betterment of good. We're just wanting all this stuff. And in reality, you have some sinister intentions. Sinister demons. I find out I don't want to go here. I find an irony, not irony. I use the word irony way too much when it's not technically irony, but you get what I mean. It's that for some reason things are supposed to be separation of church and state, but for some reason it seems like it's okay if the church is involved in the state, but the church doesn't want the state involved in the church. Like, did you know that the Vatican, like, I found this out, like, I kind of was aware of this. The Vatican literally does, like, if you live in the Vatican, the law that applies in the city Rome or whatever the fuck it's in, whatever city a Vatican is in, it does not adhere to legal law. The Vatican has its own legal law. That's why pedophiles, just got striked. That's why pedophiles, that's why all of them can just flock to this religion, Vatican, to these Vatican churches. And they can just live there, die there, be free there, regardless if everyone knows they have touched 200 fucking children or whatever the fuck. The Vatican literally doesn't have to abide by human law. But God forbid, all pun intended, but God forbid when in schools they're like, hey, I don't know if we should teach Bibles anymore, religion. Like, I think there should be religion class. Like, I took a religion class in college and I actually enjoyed it. You learn a lot. You actually learn a lot. And you realize that a lot of religions are really similar. They're really the same. Delusion. No, but they're really similar in what they believe. It's weird how religions are against each other when really they should actually just like have an AA group, like an alliance group of just religion, because the fact that you all can believe in something so strongly and live by it, I think it's admirable. Some would say delusion. I think it's admirable depending on how you want to look at it. But I do think there's like you have a lot more in common with each other than not. But when it comes to separation of church and state, it's pretty funny to me how it seems that it's really just church dominates all that stuff. And it's okay. It's okay if church festers in schools, but it's not cool if the law actually is like, hey, you can't do this, and they're like, but we're God. It's like we're all God's children. What happened to us being equal? It's like, hey, that equal stuff. Let's slow it down there. Let's slow down. Except they didn't even want to get to know you. They just they started to get to know your child. But hey, hey, I'm sorry. I know. Uh, I'm a demon, all right. In the bedroom. Giving them demon eyes, girl. It's, it's like, I've had a few experiences with, the eyes rolling back, kind of like you see in the movies when they get possessed, except they're being possessed. They're being possessed by this tongue on their labia. Oh, Fruit Loop labia. Fruit labia loops. Actually, side tangent. At work yesterday, I was actually, sometimes like I'll just throw random ideas out. Like, I think I would be a great slogan brand maker for like cereal. Like, what if they had erotic cereals? Where, the common cereals or whatever, and there's like a nice play on words, and maybe the flavors are cool. Maybe it's like on the marshmallow stuff. Like, if you have Lucky Charms on the marshmallow stuff, it's like you know, some like a femboy getting spanked by Kalila Coon. Oh, Professor. And be like, oh, what was that show? Jeez, I can't even think about it. But yeah, it's like some girl dressed up in cosplay, whipping a guy with a ball danger in his mouth. Um, Fruit labia loops. And it's just like a bunch of erotic cereals. Maybe have erotic milk. I don't know. Say it's 100% natural breast milk. Um, ooh, very nutritious actually. Um, okay. But no, like I was throwing out ideas, and then like throughout the shift, we were like we had a couple, I came with like Cinnamon Crunch, it says Cinnamon Toast, Cinnamon Crunch. A slogan for like Captain Crunch would be Thickmatize me, Captain. Um, oh, she can walk the plank all right, because this wood is out to be walked on. Now, you won't have to walk that far once you fall off, but hey, you know what? Um, Once you're drowning, bitch, you're drowning. I'll grab you by the hair and pull you up, and in and out, and in and out. In these parts of the Caribbean. Oh, Keira Knightley. Okay. Mm-hmm. But I will care for you nightly. Ah, Jesus, Clint. Ah, Jesus. Oh, Jesus. All right. But no, like, fruit labia loops, Cinnamon Crunch. Thinking, trying to think of a few. Muffin top now. Muffin. Ooh, Muffin gave me that top. Ah, Jesus, they need to bring Muffin tops back. Thickmatize me, Captain, for Captain Crunch. Let's see, for Lucky Charms. What would be? I'm literally thinking this as Lucky Charms. Be like Lucky Chode. I don't even know what a chode is. I feel like it sounds erotic. It's either erotic or it's literally just shit in the toilet. Like, I don't know. Um, we got a booty flakes. You have the chocolate shavings. It's wild to me when people eat Frosted Flakes or these high sugar cereals and then they literally add extra sugar on top of it. It's like, what's wrong with you? It's like literally when you get to the bottom of the Frosted Flakes bag, there's already crystal sugar. You don't need to add more crystals. I guess it's supernatural after all. Yeah, it's super unnatural what it makes you feel after. Yeah, it's called diabetes. But yeah, no, it's good stuff. But yeah, I don't know. Maybe try to talk about something else now. I feel like I've beaten this supernatural. I talked about 40 minutes about super fucking natural. All right, you know what? I give you guys 45. I give you 40 minutes of non-gymish talk. So you know what we're going to talk about? My life. It is weird. I know I talked about it before, but it is weird how you get treated different. And I even texted a friend with. I even texted a friend, and we haven't talked in a while, like in person, but there was a period of time where literally for like 5 or 6 months straight, every like 2 or 3 times a week, we meet up just naturally. We meet like at the same place, cross over, and we just sit and talk about things, right? And a lot of it honestly would be, girls, but not just like girls specifically, but really the state of what we kind of live in modern society as men our age, the stuff that we kind of have to be aware of and deal with that maybe other generations of men haven't. And how do we balance adjusting but still having respect for ourselves type of shit. And all this stuff, like it's a lot of back and forth and stuff. And one thing that he kept stressing, and I already kind of felt this, but I always felt like he was a little bit over the top with it. Like, he's like, look, man, it's pretty simple. Lift weights, get big as fuck bitches. I'm like, oh, and make money. Lift weights, get big, fuck bitches, get money. That's all you need to do. And I'm like, I don't think it's. I mean, like, yeah, look, get in shape. It's like, all right, that's something like I've done in the past. Like, at the time, I wasn't, looking like this. But, like, yeah, like, all right. It's like, but you can't just revolve your whole life around this shit either. Like, you gotta. He's like, no, you don't. You don't have that balance. And I'm like, okay. And we would always joke about, because you see this stuff like, oh, girls like dad bods, girls like this, girls don't care about if a guy's fit and all this shit. But like, we both knew that was a lie. But he's a pretty big, strong dude, pretty stout, like pretty damn strong. He's actually slightly younger than me, but he's a stud muffin. And then he'll crumble in your hand, all right, when you shake it, because he's got bear claws for hands. And I was just, we would always kind of have these discussions about things, and we would agree for the most part on a lot of things, but I would push back on some things just because to kind of get down to the bottom of what's actually bullshit out there, of what we hear and what's actually not. And I think the biggest thing I've learned that's kind of proven through like this experiment, this 6-7 month experiment of body change, is that whole girls don't care if you're fit bullshit. It's absolute bullshit. It is absolutely 100% the biggest lie that will be told in history. And any girl that says they completely do not care, like, maybe they don't care as much. It's not about being like shredded stuff, but just taking care of yourself, looking like you at least exercise in some capacity, at least looking like you eat okay, at least looking like you have self discipline in what you put in your body in something, right? But when you start putting on size and you're lean, it's a cheat code. You literally don't have to do anything to get attention. And I'm not saying this to be it's literally just like you sit back, kind of like I was with my imaginary friend. You literally sit back, and typically you don't have to do a whole lot to just get the minimum amount of attention that most guys that walk on this earth these days don't even get. And the biggest part about getting attention is you don't even care to get it because you know it's going to happen inevitably. You don't try hard. You don't dress a certain way. You don't go out today and be like, I hope some girl looks at me while I'm waiting in line when I'm wearing this shirt because it shows off this. Like, you honestly don't care about that shit. Which, honestly, the less you care, you get it. And I think the biggest thing this has taught me is when you hear people say they don't care about something, I automatically assume they kind of do. Because I think about any time I say I don't care about it, it's because I've adjusted my expectations to reality of either my realistic, uh, what I attract, whether it's demographic, blah, blah, blah. Even whether this isn't even about like dating, honestly, at this point. It's literally about who revolves in any capacity of life. It could be the person that if you go to the grocery store once a week, you're probably going to see the same employees. You're probably going to come across someone at the front that you say hey to, how are you today, blah, blah, blah. And even some simple as that, you can see how you get treated different based off how you look different, based off how you feel about yourself. And it's weird because now when I go to certain Dunkin' locations, like I kind of go to a few different ones. I don't go as much anymore because I've cut back a little. But there was one I didn't go for like a month and a half. And I went there yesterday. They're like, oh my God, we haven't seen you in forever. And like, you could just feel the laser eye focus on you. You can feel this, like the attentiveness to you. And you just see like how much like, oh, it's you kind of stand out. And I think that's the biggest thing, like with us men, is the biggest thing that really separates us from other guys to attract or to even just get a woman's attention is simply competition. And the beauty about competition when it comes to competing with men is that you're not really competing because you're really in your own world. You really should just be focused on that. It's not like sports is one-on-one where you're trying to beat the person in front of you because you're really competing against a bunch of people that the only way you're really competing with them is if they actually approach or they try to get something that you want. That's the real competition between men, is when someone is trying to get something that you want. There's no scoreboard. There's no this. And the weird part about competition when it comes to social things is that the less work you actually put into the actual thing, and the more work you put outside of the thing to make you stand out. It really is like sports where you're preparing and practicing 95 to 99% of the time for the actual game. You're preparing outside work on your skills, whether it's your health, your life skills, your just improvement as a person, improvement as a guy. And the honestly, when you hear someone say, I'm seeking a relationship, I'm seeking a guy, I'm seeking a girl, I'm seeking this, I'm seeking a boyfriend, a girlfriend, it's the most cringy thing ever. I think you should always be open and you should be understanding when you are prepared for someone, when you're not, and be honest with yourself. But to sit there and just be like, I'm going to go find a girlfriend now. It's like you're automatically going to just kind of settle for something because it's there and you're both looking for something at the same time, I guess. When typically the best situations naturally happen when you are doing things to prepare for that to happen, if that makes sense. And I've kind of realized that about myself, is that recently, the less I've actually tried to seek something, the more I've actually gotten that thing. All because of the work I have put privately that I've talked about on the pod, but I don't post videos about the work I put in. But it's visible. And I've tried to be more like, okay, like I'm not a self-obsessed. Well, if you listen to this pod, you probably think I'm self-obsessed. But I'm not a self into myself person. I'm not someone that looks in the mirror all the time. I'm not someone that critiques my every little thing about my every little thing I do. Like I'm aware of it, but I'm just like, yeah, is what it is type of thing. I'm just not that into myself. But I'm trying to be more like okay with being a little self indulgent. Like being like, yeah, like I'm trying to be more like open to showing my body. I'm trying to be more um, show offy, I guess, because show off there's like you kind of have to mark your territory. You kind of have to claim what's out there, and the way you claim what's out there is you're not afraid to show what you're working with. Nah, I saying pull your dick out, because show them what you're working with. Shake that ass. Helicopter dick. Shake that ass. Show them what you're working with. That'd be a weird, like, show. They have, like, weird shows where it'd be, like, the yodeling contest type of... What if they just had a helicopter dick show? Get on the stage, do the helicopter dick. And then you have judges. That was a 7. Um, shake that ass. Well, I'm pretty sure they have twerking competitions. It's called the strip club. I'm in love with a stripper. But I'm trying to be. I think it's important to start being. And I used to be so against people that are just always like just kind of like looking at themselves, marveling about themselves. I'm just not comfortable with that. And I don't know if that's insecure. That's just me actually being a normal person. Because I wonder, like, am I actually insecure because it makes me feel some type of way when someone's so into themselves because there's a self-love and confidence that maybe I don't have as much of? Or are they just kind of, or is it a turnoff when someone's just like, look at my ass and they're taking pictures of their ass at the gym randomly? It's like, at least go to the bathroom. I mean, Jesus, like, I love your Bulgarian squats, but go to the women's restroom. I don't know what to think about that. And I try to be like, should I be a little bit more into myself? As weird as that sounds. I don't know. I think the main thing is just like, until I like feel like, you know what? Fuck it. I'm just going to continue being me type of thing at the end of the day. I guess, I don't know. Let me drink more of my drink. Because I guess the way I look is typically people that do that stuff, I look at them as heavily insecure. That's just my jaded. Like, I admit, like, I'm a jaded person. I'm okay with that. I'm jaded. Like, I roll my eyes at some things people do. Maybe because there's a part of me that's like, Jesus, I wish I could do that. But I'm going to make them feel less than so I can elevate myself up. See? It's called self-awareness. Be okay with the shit that you're cynical about, but be okay with it. But anyways, yeah, back to the core of what all this is about. Yeah, I get stopped at the gym probably every other day, depending on the topic. Every other day, a random person, whether it's a guy or girl, that go, they're like, I just want to say, you really you really look like different than like months ago. You really have put in the work. You really are like determined. My favorite compliment I've gotten, it was from an older guy. A guy who was like 70 years old. Does he lift a lot of weight? No, but you could tell like he is a long time active. Like he just like, you get older, you just can't do as much. Like that's just the reality. He's natural. Like I think he used to be in the Marines. And the biggest compliment he gave me And it's my favorite compliment to this day when it has come to any gym, any body improvement. I've had, you have girls telling like, "Wow, you look good." Guys like, "Damn, man!" Like, the biggest compliment said, "You have that look of someone who gives a shit when you work out. Someone who gives a shit, not just someone that comes in here and they go through the motions. Someone who technically puts in the work, but they're not really attentive to what they're doing." He's like, when you work out, you could just tell you don't, like, you give a shit, and you're not there to impress. You're not there to there. He's obviously saying here, but for the audience, I'm gonna say there. He's like, he says, you're not here to do anything but improve yourself. And he's like, I don't know your origin story. I don't know if you were once this or that. I don't know if you've come a long way and whatever. He's like, but you're giving a shit. You're here every single day. And there are people that show up a lot, but they don't actually show up. And there's people that show up a little bit, and when they show up, they put in work, but they're not consistent enough. And to hear that come from an older person, and he capped it off with simply saying that, shit, I don't know. God damn it. This happened last night when I was talking, so I just kept drawing fucking blanks. I draw a blank at the worst fucking time, well, some of us guys, we shoot blanks at the worst times as well. It's the peanut butter. It's stopping my glycogen levels, baby. Does it taste like Skippy? Oh, I'll give you a skip to your loo, all right. No, but the biggest compliment he gave me was that your consistency is something that you don't see often these days in anyone. He didn't even make it age specific. He didn't just say, "Oh, for your generation, you're exceptional." He's like, you can. He said, your consistency is something that's gonna benefit you in the long term that you're not even gonna realize in everything in life. And he doesn't know anything about my personal life. He doesn't know anything about me. I've never talked to this guy. He just randomly came up to me and he just stopped me. And at first I was like, this old guy's stopping me. I thought he was going to talk to me about, what's going on Fox News on the channel. It's like, I don't talk about that stuff. He's like, oh, Biden. I thought he was going to be like, Biden says it's not a recession. And it's like, hey, this gym bill that I pay for 3 people says we are in a recession. But no, and I took my earbuds out and, I was like, you know what? It was just nice. And I think even when you are self-motivated, even when you are self kind of trusting what you're doing, I think sometimes we need like a third party to confirm, regardless of how much self-belief we have in what we're doing. Even when the results are actually, you see the results visibly, or when you feel the results, or you're doing the right thing. To have someone be like, from a wisdom standpoint, a person that essentially served in the Marines, I believe, someone who has lived life, someone who is still actively trying to do, and they see something in you that they view as extraordinary. Motherfuckers. I don't give a fuck about your 877 call. I think we all sometimes just need that little like, hey, I see you. And from the person it's coming from, it matters. So someone who I see probably a few times a week, like he probably comes to the gym a few times a week. And I see him. I've waved at him before, like just general stuff. Like when you see someone enough at the gym, like you acknowledge their existence. But I think there's something as a human being to someone telling you like you're doing good. I don't care how old you are. We all sometimes need to just be like reminded like, hey, you're doing some good shit, man. I just want you to know what you're doing. You're doing it genuinely. And I think people pick that up. And I've noticed in everything in my life, the way people treat me, the way people look at me, the way people perceive me. And by default, it's going to make you more confident. It's going to make you more, the better versions of yourself are going to come out. You're going to be more comfortable, natural with yourself. And that's going to benefit every aspect. That's the only reason why I brought anything with the gym, because of that incident. And at the end of the day, yeah, don't listen to this shit. Going back to me and my friend, don't listen to this shit that, oh, it doesn't matter. Okay. You know what? When she touched on my abdomen, and she's like, oh, it matters. And anyone that says it doesn't, why are you always lying? All right. That was episode 160. That's time to stop. It probably could have stopped like 50 minutes ago. All right, guys. Don't forget to like, follow, comment, subscribe. Most importantly, I forgot to say it's the beginning of the pod, but of course I'll never forget to suck some titties. Yeah. Have a great day. Hope you guys enjoy the pod. I'll try to record a second one today, so you guys have a couple episodes this week. And yeah. Have a good day, guys. Peace up, A-Town down. Whoa, whoa. Trust the shoes. Oh, whoa, whoa.